And we are live. What is up, everybody? Aaron the Dog back with the one and the only breakdown for the week of Memorial Day here in the States. It is also known as Cage Warriors Week here on the channel. Cage Warriors 137 and 138. I have the numbers correct.
Yep.
There and taking place where, Lewis?
So this is Charter Hall in Colchester, which is one side of Essex in the south of England. It's not too far from London. It's about an hour and a half away.
And they're doing an Unplugged show for the first show of the weekend. Does that mean it's like a kind of like a Contender Series type of setup where it's like no one's going to be there? A very small audience?
I think it's very small, yeah. I think it's limited tickets. I'm not sure why, because Charter House, it's not a big venue. It holds probably about 250, 300 people. It's like a sports centre.
Yeah, so Cage Warriors always trying stuff. Graham Boylan, appreciate him having the fight. So we're going to be breaking down.
They normally do amateur fights there. That's what they normally do.
Okay, and so they're definitely not amateur fights. Some decent fights on this card. A lot of regulars, especially the Shanks. I don't want to point out a fight, but that is probably my favorite fight of either card. So can't wait to get to that. That's on the second part of the breakdown. We're going to be breaking down 137 and 138 here. Timestamps will be in the comments comment as always. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started here. We've had a pretty good run on Cage Wars, both California and over here in Europe. So let's keep it going. I saw a bunch of rumors saying that MMA was off this week because UFC is off, but they're on the books here in the States. So let's go. Starting at 170, Jack Dedimus taking on Omaran Chaban here. This is at 170 pounds. This is honestly one of the fights that I think, is possibly competitive, but I don't think it's going to be very competitive just based on I'll start with Omaran though, and Omaran is the way I'm leaning going into this. The Lebanese Gorilla, great nickname there. 2-1 for the Finnish fighter fighting out of Finland now. Omaran, he's first of all faced better level of competition. He's going to be a longer, larger opponent here. He's been over in UAE, which is always a good sign here. He's definitely got a good reach on him. I think he'll have a reach advantage in this spot against Jack. I just think he's faced a better level of competition, both as an amateur and as a pro. Magomed Khabib Umarov, we've talked about him before with IMAF. Definitely a good name to have on your record. He did lose that in 31 seconds, though. So you only get so much out of that. He has a fight with Cage Warriors and 2 with UAE as a pro. His fight with Cage Warriors, you can find it was pretty competitive. He was definitely going against a strong guy, a strong, shorter fighter here. I mean, he's kind of in a similar situation here against Jack. His one loss, he was kind of able to be controlled on the ground a little bit too much. He's a southpaw. He's a long striker. Got a knockout in his last fight with UAE. And then going over to Jack, Jack kind of has definitely had a good run so far. He's 1-0 as an amateur, has a good or 1-0 as a pro, I should say. 4 straight as an amateur as well. He definitely goes in there very aggressive. Kind of fights a little bit. Maybe gets away with his style based on his level of opponent here. I just think that while I do like Jack, I like he's fought this year. He could come into this fight and definitely get the jump on his opponent. Omaran does kind of start slow. He's more methodical, technical striker of the two. I think Jack has to kind of make this a dirty fight. We'll talk about that, I think, with a lot of fighters as we go through this card. It's just kind of one of those types of cards all the way around. But you see all the armbar finishes. He's obviously a grappler. Ground pound finish in his last one of a 5-51 opponent, and Craig Allen. His other fight was deemed ineligible due to how bad the opponent was on Tapology. I've never seen that going through Tapology before, but so essentially this is a this is a pro debut in Cage Warriors, but he's had 2 pro fights to go through at least. I just like Omaran in this spot. I think he looks really good. He looks like a long, rangy welterweight, and I just think he's going to kind of piece up Jack here. If Jack can't get it to the floor, Jack has to get it to the ground. It's wherever this fight takes place, that guy wins the fight.
100% agree. I'm on the other side of the fence though, where I think he will get it to the ground.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not too. It's the problem with when guys have this sort of record and the actual footage of finding these guys is so limited. So you have to kind of just use your MMA maths a little bit. And whenever you see low end strikers, they're very, very rarely someone like a Luke Riley, where they instantly look like someone that's 10-0 and pinpoint accurate striker. They're normally a little sloppy. They leave their chin exposed. They're not using footwork properly, whatever. Omran kind of seems like he does have long range strikes, which is great. But Jack is a good grappler. I've seen him grapple. He's a very good grappler. And I fully expect him to get Omran to the floor. If he does, I haven't seen Omran's grappling that much. So he might be
he gets held in place pretty easy in that his loss.
So by that logic, I'm going to go with Jack.
Okay.
I wouldn't invest too much into this one though.
Yeah, no, I agree. And do you know where Jack's training out of for this? I was trying to find that.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with him either, but the odds in this one are way too much. -350 on Umaran, plus 260, 2.5 to 1 underdog on Jack. I definitely think it's a dog or pass scenario from a bet option for that one. So it's a 1-0 versus a 2-1 here. This is not a fight I would recommend betting too heavily either side. But if you're betting them all, I'm going with Omaran in this one as my official pick. So we disagree to start out. That's a good start. That's definitely one of the fights I think we both have a little less to stay on just based on the amount of footage available. But next fight, I have quite a bit to say on Shoaib Youssef taking on Michael Folik, I believe, or Michael Folik. Jack
I have no idea.
Jack opened -300 or so. The line flipped. All right, I think it should be somewhere in the middle. I don't think either fighter should be a -300. So appreciate that info from UFC betting experience. Who it's ironic. I only see UFC betting experience and non-UFC shows here. I've never seen him in one of my videos. So
he does his own UFC research.
Like I got my own shit. So good for you. Don't go to other people and then just say shit. I hate the echo chamber. Even if it was my information, I wouldn't want it. But anyways, this fight at 150, take a look at that typology picture for Denise Michael Folk here, taking on Shoaib Youssef, the assassin. Looks like just a nice guy.
Doesn't it?
this is an interesting fight. Shoaib Youssef's last fight was very, very interesting to watch. Definitely watch that. But I'll talk about Mikel first here. 6-4. It is a 150 catch weight fight. It is what it is. I don't love catch weight, but it's fine. But Mika or Mikel for Folk, 5'9". He's definitely a compact, grappling type of fighter. He's out of Poland. He has won his last 2 fights. Last fought in October of 2021. So it's been a bit of time since his last win or last fight, I should say. But he kind of goes in there. He looks to grapple. He looks to cage pressure, get it to the ground as quickly, or as close to his fighter as he can typically. In fights where he can't, he kind of gets beat up on the feet. Basically, hasn't faced a great level of competition throughout his time, but you see the rear naked chokes or decisions. He tries to get your back, tries to take you down, tries to enforce trips, doesn't have the greatest of wrestling. His stand-up is pretty rudimentary. He's pretty square stance. And I'm not answering that, Kelly. But again, he was supposed to fight, or not again, but he was supposed to fight Liam Malloy. Liam had to pull out of this fight, and now I do think he has a better matchup here against Shoaib Youssef. Shoaib Youssef is a very, very good striker. He's very long. He's very exciting. Kind of what you said about the last fight. But this guy's 8-3. He's 8-3 because he lost his last fight to Marco Calamari. He lost his last fight to, I believe it was Marco Calamari. Was it? Is that his name?
I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce it. Pronunciations to you this.
Yeah, Matthew Camilleri. Matthew Camilleri in his last fight.
Though. Nailed that.
Yeah, Matthew Camilleri, very, very good. 6-1 fighter. He's a similar type of fighter than Mikal. He's much better at doing it, but he's a wrestler, forces it to the ground. He was able to get it to the ground the first time with a little bit of a resistance. After that first time of breaking that takedown defense of Shoaib, it was over for him. So if Mikal can get it to the ground, I think he keeps it on the ground each time here. And they claimed that was a split with Matthew. It was not a split. Matthew even rocked Shoaib in that fight. That was a split because it was in Shoaib's hometown, and they even said at the end, let's give Shoaib a round of applause and not the winner. It was a split decision, but it wasn't a split decision. Matthew Camilleri won that fight very clearly, and he should be probably fighting in this spot. But Volk fights very similarly. He's just not as good. Shoaib had to have learned from that, and I do believe has been working on that. I do know the odds are massively in Shoaib's favor. I'm not crazy on that. Volk knows how he has to fight this fight to win. But I mean, you do look, and Shoaib has been fighting with ACB, with Brave CF, and good competition there. His other loss to Makhmed Machiev, a 9-0 opponent at the time with Brave. No shame there. But I mean, the way to beat Shoaib has remained the same through his last fight with Camilleri. Camilleri is better than Volk. I just think Volk has a way to win this fight. The dogs are barking. That is not going to influence my pick here. I'm going to go with Youssef, but I'm not betting Youssef here with his price. You're going to be sweating if Volk gets takedowns because I think Youssef is going to struggle if that happens. But I'll take Youssef. Youssef probably knocks him out, honestly. You better hope he does. Otherwise, you're probably sweating, especially at the price you're paying. But if he doesn't knock him out and Volk is going to – I'm telling you, Volk is going to be shooting and diving in on a takedown within the first 30 seconds. So maybe Shoaib was able to, just elbow him and kind of get him out of there, Barnett style or something. Or he's able to get away from him, so he learned from his loss. But if he hasn't learned from his loss, he's going to struggle for 15 minutes because Volk's not going to stop going for takedowns. And – I just don't think Volk has the wrestling. Camilleri is kind of a beast. You can look in that fight and other fights. Camilleri 6-1, pretty legit fighter, went into Shoaib's hometown. So I'll take Shoaib, but I'm not confident in him at his price, especially.
Yeah, I think Camilleri and Mikhaev are both beasts. Mikhaev is very, very good. And the thing is, these sort of guys have the cardio to implement that kind of wrestling for 3 rounds. I'm not really rating here. I think
Volk looks pretty soft, to be honest.
Yeah, I think he doesn't take a shot too well. He has been finished, and I don't know. I just think Yusuf's striking is so clinical. Yeah, he might get taken down, but I think he can get back to his feet. He's going to be shooting for his life in the old McGregor saying, isn't he? So I have Yusuf winning. I think he can stop him as well pretty quickly. As you say, he knows what he's going to do. If someone has only one game plan to kind of beat you, you know what they're going to do, and you get better by defending it. Like MVP, for example, he knows everyone's going to try and take him down every time. So he's getting better and better every time you see him. Might not succeed, but that's what he's doing. So nice swift knee up the middle, catch him as he's coming in. I can see Youssef catching him.
Yeah. Youssef currently -400, +310 on Michael Volk. Again, it's just based on the matchup, it just makes me a little bit, nervous, but everything, all things considered, if you want to put in some parlays, I won't yell, but it's just his last fight and the fight with Makhachev, both the same way, but those are 2 very high level of opponents. And I would not say that Michael Volk is that. So we'll move on here to the next fight, but it should be a good one. In this fight, a little bit tougher of a call for me at 125, 1453. between Tanio, Pagliaricchio, and Benoit Blanc. Now, right away, have you seen the movie Knives Out? Have you heard of the movie Knives
I
Out?
have, yeah.
So, yeah, there's a character in that
Daniel
name.
Craig? Daniel Craig.
Yeah, Daniel Craig plays a character in that name, Benoit Blanc.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when you search Benoit Blanc, even with MMA on YouTube or other places, you are coming across a lot of Daniel Craig stuff. So I did have to go through quite a bit of Daniel Craig tape to eventually get to my Benoit Blanc.
It's a very different accent as well, isn't it?
Yeah, very different, just flavor all the way around. But both French. 4-1 is my Benoit Blanc, 26 years old. Here, taking on Tanio here, Pagliaricchio. Benoit Blanc, 4 straight wins since his loss in his debut. He's been off since 2019. So that's always, tricky. Last time he fought, he was 23 years old. He's coming back fighting at 26. Came off of a triangle choke in his last win before taking the time off. Was able to watch that fight. It was a pretty competitive fight before the win there, but, props to him. Don't really have a level of opponent there for 4 overall on his record, but he's finished all 4 of his wins. So there's that. Definitely a, good, legitimate submission type of threat here. But has been off for 3 years. I do think that he was not looking bad before he went off. I mean, he was looking like a promising fighter. I do think there was an injury involved initially, but I don't think it's necessarily bad at 23 to 26 taking off that time. I think he definitely can come back better, but we're on a betting channel here, and it's a lot of speculation. I don't know. I haven't seen him in 3 years. And French MMA definitely has advanced a lot, so I don't think that's what it once meant, especially for maybe a guy in that area. But either way, 4 wins, 4 finishes. Tanio has definitely been the more active fighter recently and has more experience at 7-2. Both guys still very young, though, 23 years old for Tanio, 5'7" as well. SBG Ireland just won his last fight out with Cage Warriors back in July, or back with Coliseum, sorry. This is return to Cage Warriors from back with Aiton DePape. A good fighter, honestly. Just was kind of the more veteran, more experienced guy, forced the fight to the ground. We've seen DePape a couple times here, and familiar with him. He's not a bad loss to have early on in your record at all. Otherwise, kind of a Venator, Italian cage fighting, Italian fighting championships. So, a level of opponent he could find over in Italy, but definitely had a fight with Aiden James that was canceled back in December. I had a fight with Scott Malone in April, and now he's facing Benoit Blanc. So
they rate him quite high to give him Aiden James or Scott Malone for a start. Yeah,
exactly. So definitely, and now, Benoit Blanc coming. So it's both these guys are coming into this fight, and it's like who's going to show kind of who's at that, level of ready to taking that step. I mean, Benoit Blanc is maybe where Tanio was 3 years ago. So it's just Tanio 23, Benoit Blanc 26. I mean, it's a very close fight. Both guys are high-level grapplers, especially Benoit Blanc from seeing it. But one thing I don't love with Tanio and the fights I've seen, and he does have a couple of guillotine finishes, is that he really goes to that guillotine as a defense for takedowns. And I don't know if that's going to work against a level of grappler like Benoit. And if he uses that as his defense, he might really end up in the spot where Benoit can get the finish. 3 finishes by submission for Benoit Blanc. This is my first underdog I'm taking on the night in Benoit Blanc. I'm going to take him to get this fight to the floor, and I'm actually going to take him to get the finish by submission. It'd be the first time Tanio has been finished, so it'd be a big statement there with a guy like DePape on there. And this is speculation, but yeah, I like Benoit.
You like Benoit Blanc in this one. I also like Benoit. From the level of grappling, the difference is massive. It is massive. I'm not saying Tanio can't win. But I'm saying the level of competition Tanio has fought is dramatically less. But the only problem is Benoit hasn't fought in so long.
Right.
I have an issue with that. But whenever they do come back, how often have we gone, or I wonder what they're going to look like? And then they look superb. There's very
and one thing I will say, is Benoit looked very composed in his fights that I was able to watch at 23 years old. So I don't think he looks like the type of guy who wasn't taking training and wasn't taking that kind of thing seriously. So I'm anticipating the time off is helpful, but there is a cage rust issue. It's a rust versus, evolution in this case, beyond rest at this point in 3 years. So the odds, by the way, minus 275 on Tanio, plus 220 on Benoit Blanc. So again, I'm going to take a shot here. Not saying put your whole bank account on it, but I think you don't need to at that.
That's surprising. It's so heavily in fact. I know Benoit's got an actual, quite a big following. I know the same guys that follow Morgan Charrier or Saint Denis, they all like Blanc as well. So, I expect Benoit actually to win.
Yeah, so I'm pretty surprised. I too have Benoit here. I think, and this is my first dog, and we agree there. So, buyer beware. I'm not. It's not a Lewis Long situation against Tebow. We were wrong there. My bad. I paid for it. Trust me, guys. It's not like I don't follow my own advice in spots like that. So
this next one's nice and easy though. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. This is the Adam Cullen Express train. This might be our fastest breakdown of the night. Adam Cullen taking on Arnaud Kerfala. Here. Adam Cullen coming off of a 14-second knockout of his opponent. He got hit quite a bit in those 14 seconds as well, but he did not look phased from the strikes while his opponent completely crumbled to his strikes. So there is that. It was kind of nice to see him take some shots, though, because his opponent was also undefeated coming into that fight. And
4-0 winning, yeah.
Yep, 4-0, and definitely a super strong guy, super physical guy. He definitely took a few real good shots. You can watch the fight; it doesn't take long. But Cullen, now four straight wins for him. Just turned 24. I think they're going to bring this guy along very deliberately. You can take that to mean whatever you want, but Cage Warriors can definitely do that. 6 straight wins going back to his amateur, next generation MMA in Liverpool. 6 foot tall, very very large. 155er for sure, very fills it out well. Then the Nadai fight, 14 seconds. Before that was 3 rear naked choke wins. Has not gone out of the first round yet. He's faced a good level of competition. His last 2 especially. 5-2 Kerfala coming into this fight. It's just, it's taking that next step up. He is elevating a little bit with a 7-2 opponent. 5'11", similar size here, coming off of a loss. So props to Kerfala for taking this fight, because I definitely don't think that a lot of guys are lining up to take Cullen, and I think that's what you're seeing here, is that they're kind of having to result in getting a guy coming off a loss. It was to Magomedov. It wasn't 28 seconds, though. It was a knockout. I see a lot of guillotine chokes on his resume. He lost to an 0-1 Yassine Belhaj, who I've heard of, so not terrible losses. He's faced a good level of competition, too, and beat them. I just think Adam Cullen is at another level here. Adam Cullen, I'd like to see him get into a second round. I think he looks to maybe show a little more of his game here, but if he gets the first round, he'll obviously take it. He's not. But I think Adam Cullen wins this fight. It's not really too bettable. Adam Cullen's a huge favorite.
Yeah, you got Kerfala here who strangles strikers, and you got Cullen here who strangles grapplers.
Yes,
Cullen is so well rounded. He fights out of what he is. He's next generation MMA. He trains every bloody day with Paddy Pimblett. He's got brilliant coaches around him. They're the same size for the weight class. I think he was playing with maybe going down at featherweight at one point, but I think he's just he doesn't like cutting too much weight.
No, I'd rather see him eventually go to welterweight.
He's thick, isn't it? He's got a real thick set about him for someone that's 24. You imagine being like that at 24. It's impressive. Nope,
long since passed.
Shody's got hands, man. Shody's got hands. He's got tough. He tucks his chin well. He didn't really use the head movement, but he's a grappler first and foremost. And he's learning the striking as it goes. And him and Luke Riley, I think are going to just hit the top of Cage Warriors, and you'll see them on the big scene in maybe 2 years' time. So I fully expect Adam Cullen to run through Kafala, to be honest with you, and I can see it a first round. I think he can strangle this grappler as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see a second round. I just want to see a little bit.
He might, but
I'm not saying
I rate Cullen so damn high. I think he could run through him.
Yep, fair enough. Minus 550 on Cullen here. I do think you can parlay him through. If you're doing like a long shot parlay or two, parlay him in those because he is coming through. In my opinion, Kafala gets finished and probably. I would say he gets back on the submission train here if I had to choose one or the other, but it doesn't. Really...
I know what you're saying though when you say you want to see him tested just before he gets to that height.
Yeah.
There's so many fighters that they lose when they're hitting the belt or when they get.
He's been a hammer. Yeah, he's been a hammer every time we've ever seen him, which is great. Yeah. That's the idea. But all right, we're on to the next fight here. This is at bantamweight and. 9608 Bogdan. It's between Bogdan Barbo, who has a lot of tape available. He's been around for quite a while, has a colorful 17-12 record, and fights pretty much the same in all those fights. I'll give him credit. He just walks forward, a lot of pressure. He's always the one pressuring. He's always the one kind of cutting off the cage, looking to make his opponent uncomfortable. Going against grappler, a wrestler, and Don Duis, I believe is how you say his name. He got a good record in 7-1 out of the Netherlands, known for his Gracie fighting on Gracie Baja. Has a lot of grappling highlights available. Has a lot of jiu-jitsu, sambo, or jiu-jitsu and wrestling in his background as well here. Which I think is pretty, going to work against Bogdan a lot of his fights. Bogdan's going to walk forward on a wrestler. He'll walk forward on anybody. He'll walk right into the takedowns. More than likely here. See the triangle finish of Gerardo Fanny when Gerardo Fanny was 8-0. Definitely a notable win there. Unfortunately, wasn't able to find it. Was only able to find his last win, rear naked choke with Fair FC back in November. He really didn't give his opponent much room there, and his opponent was a 12-10 and 2 opponent there. His one loss was against a guy who, when I looked at the numbers, wasn't able to get the takedowns. Was supposed to face Josh Reed back in April. The fight just fizzled out, and now he's getting, a journeyman and Bogdan Barbu, who's fought on a lot of smaller shows. Just fights, same way. Comes forward, he's in good shape for sure. Coming off a win in his last fight, he's definitely going to be aggressive. He's fought featherweight before as well. He'll be a good size for this fight. He's going to look to, stay in his opponent's face, keep his opponent uncomfortable. He's been submitted quite a few times in his career. Don does have a very good submission grappling game. I do expect Don to most likely get it done there. But if he's not, Bogdan's going to stay in his face all night long. I don't agree with the odds on this one when I saw them, so I was a little bit surprised there that these odds are at the same as Adam Collins' odds. So thought that was a little interesting. And guess your thoughts on this fight? Any of your thoughts?
Personally, I think Barbu's, as you say, he is aggressive and he does walk onto stuff. He's a kill or be killed guy. He throws heavy, and if he doesn't get what he wants, he crumbles. And it's one or the other. His level of competition he's fought over the years as well. It's not like he's fought in Cage Warriors his whole career or anything and got a 17-12 record. He's fought on really low level cards, fighting people on the debut, and he's had 15 fights and he's still losing. Yep. I think Dan's gonna ragdoll him and submit him real quick. I really do. Okay.
So do you agree with the odds being Adam Cullen odds?
What are they? Wait, what's that? Minus
550. Pretty much.
Kinda. Yeah. I don't see Barbu winning in any way unless it's the classic. If he clips him, But Dan's not a joke. He's not a mug on when it comes to striking. He can handle range quite well. He's competed so much in grappling.
Yeah, I guess my hesitancy is I couldn't find any tape on him. Which sucks.
Yeah, no, that's a fair thing though. If you because that's where it becomes.
I could find Bogdan's whole career almost on there.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a little bit of the familiarity. It's the only thing that is worrying.
When you've got a win over, like a win over Gerardo Fanny is better than anything Barbu, all of them put together, isn't as good as that one.
Yeah, an undefeated Gerardo Fanny at that.
Mate, it was so damn impressive. It really was. Yeah, I think Dan Juice is gonna get him.
Joel Kahuta is 52 years old. I don't think he's that old, but we'll get to Kahuta here in a second here. But yeah, that's pretty much it on this fight. I mean, Bogdan's going to have to be the big guy who lands a big shot early. Otherwise, it's probably going to be all Deweese there. On to the main event. It's at a catch weight of 177 pounds. You don't even have to ask me my opinion on that. Whatever. Matthew Bodnar taking on Joel Kahuta, who, according to MMA Junkie, is 52 years old, I guess, and listed at 0-3. But on Tapology, he's 7-8, and he's in the main event here out of France, taking on 11-7 Matthew Bodnar. This is I think this is the most bizarre main event records I've ever broken down on the channel. But it should be a fun fight. Actually, it should be a fun fight. I'm not sure what this fight really means, especially if Joel wins. But Matthew Bodnar here, 11-7-1 here, another next generation MMA fighter. Somehow I triple checked this. He's only 31 years old. I could have. Isn't that crazy?
Looks 40, doesn't he?
Yeah, and if he feels 50. So
been around for a while.
Had that loss to Jati Melanin, which does not great.
It's not great when you see what Leroy Duncan can do, but
right, but Matthew Bodnar is no Leroy Duncan.
No.
But yeah, came back, bounced back against Hugo Pereira, whatever that means. And got the second. He looked good enough in that fight. First round, he looked like he was a little bit. Took him a little bit to get going, but still wins over James Webb, Nathias Frederick, Matt Inman. Good wins throughout his record. George Smith, definitely good wins here. He's a gritty guy. He's never been finished. That's definitely I think an important note here when going against a guy like Joel Kahuta. But I also think, against a guy like Joel Kahuta, I think he can finish a lot of people for the first time. This guy reminds me, because, we remember Babane from a few weeks ago, Gregory Babane, we broke down, and it was just like he just physically hits so hard. It doesn't really matter what level you are. If he connects, he can finish you, but if he doesn't, he loses to a lot of guys. But Joel's corrected that. I mean, I love a good success story. I believe Joel's on a 4-fight win streak coming into this fight.
I think it's like a 6 or 7.
Oh, is it 6 or 7? It's 6-fight win streak.
I think he was like 1-7 or 1-8 as he.
And now he's to be 7-8, 6 straight wins for him.
6. Okay,
that definitely does.
He turned it around, didn't he?
I mean, he's almost back to 500. I don't think he is on this mission to stop now. He was supposed to face Nicole Soli prior to this earlier in May. That fight got canceled because Kahuta had to withdraw, and I'm not sure what. Were you able to find what he had to withdraw with? Because I couldn't. But either way, I don't think it was anything too serious. But yeah. I mean, he has wins over a very low level of competition. We're having some fun here, but let's slow it down. They are really fun to watch. I mean, he goes in there and just throws caution.
1-8.
Yeah, 1-8. But he's beating 2-2s. He's beating 7. He beat a 7-2 Victor Romero in the second round with 100% fight, which take it what it will. 16-second win of an 11-7, and then he goes down to 0-2. A 4-5, a 5-9, and now he's taking a pretty large step up to Matthew Bodnar here. Straight up, I'll be honest, if he clips Matthew Bodnar early on, I think he can be the first to finish Matthew Bodnar. I don't think he's going to get the opportunity to do that to Matthew Bodnar. I think Matthew Bodnar is too smart to fall into those kind of traps. I think this is to go from that odds to those. I mean, it's just like, yeah, I mean, and then Solly and Matthew opened the same odds. Yeah, I I'm going to take Matthew Bodnar here. I think he just gets him down, works him, exhausts him, and then eventually submits him somewhere inside of the first 2 rounds. Kahuta, if he KOs him, bravo to him, but I'll take Bodnar. But these odds are stupid. Stupid odds.
In my head, he's just got to avoid him for a round, Matthew Bodnar, because, as you say, like, there's no other... Technically striking, Matthew's better everywhere. Grappling, Matthew's better everywhere. The only thing Joel has in his favor is power. But
for
damn,
like
he's like Deontay Wilder of MMA, right? Low-level MMA. It's a one-trick pony, but it's one good damn trick, you know. So I think if he does clip Matt, he's not really chinny too bad, but I do worry for it. I've been back and forth on this one, going, do you know what? Maybe Joel can do it. Maybe he has turned a point, but then don't overcomplicate it, Lewis. Just I think Matthew Bodnar is going to take him down and maul him, and I think
these odds
over a few rounds as well, like he'll gas Joel gas.
Yeah, and these odds are rough. He opened at -650. It is now at -715. I'm seeing plus 475 on Joel Kahuta.
Minus,
meaning favorite. Minus means favorite.
As in Joel is the favorite.
No, Matthew is.
Sorry, if you meant Joel, I was like, what?
No, Joel is the underdog at plus 475.
Okay.
Anyway, a 5-1 underdog. So, yeah, that's the main event for the first card.
Is it his first fight ever in Cage Warriors as well?
Yes.
I think it is, yeah. So there's a different thing as well. I know it's
exactly. But it also is one of these things where it can come in and an Alex Hernandez, Beneil Dariush moment can happen. Where it's like you're so out of your like self that you've just and again, it's a chaotic element, but you don't want to like marry yourself to a -700 Matthew Bodnar. Like, sure, Matthew Bodnar can lose this fight. Like, I'm just being honest here. Like, but it shouldn't happen. So we're going to go on right away to the 138 card here. So we're going to go right over to that. 138, I think they're opening as just a normal show. So, and that's the other thing. Is like, how scary is it facing Joel Kahuta with like a small crowd? You're going to hear every punch and feel it. Like there's nothing else there. It's just you're hearing that heavy leather of Joel Kahuta. So
the only good thing is there's going to be a lot of next gen guys there. Bodnar's quite well supported. So
yeah, I would not go crazy on it, but I also would be pretty surprised if Bodnar were to lose that one. Next night, they're running it right back at the same. So we'll see how that changes the environment. But this is Cage Warriors 138, headlined by James Webb and Lyanna Liu. We'll get to that in a moment, but we're starting at the 125 division with an Italian and English matchup here. 38:06 between Michelangelo Lupoli. I wish that name was more Italian, and Conor Hignett. That is both those names. That's a very English name too. So Conor versus Michelangelo here. Conor Hignett 9-7. Michelangelo Lupoli 5-2, making his Cage Warriors debut. Conor, the hand grenade Hignett, we'll talk about first here. Definitely more familiar with him. Saw him against Gerardo Fanny in the last fight. He was looking really good in that fight, and then was the second round started. Fanny, kind of known to take the first round a little bit lightly. Definitely was turning up in that second round. Worked Conor down. Conor was working his way back up. Was clearly on the ground and took a horrible knee to the face, like just a couple steps short of a Boston Salmon type of knee. Definitely had some damage from it to his face afterwards. He was down for several minutes. I think he pulled a Struve mistake and kept getting up, was too strong for his own good. He did keep going. And then very much, only a minute or so later in the round, took another flying knee from Fanny. That was legal. That put him absolutely out cold. And so that's like 2 knockouts in the span of 90 seconds probably for Conor Hignett that he took, or like 2 minutes. and could have walked out with a win over Gerardo Fanny. I don't know why I keep saying Fanny, but Gerardo Fanny. And, having a 10-6 record with a win over Gerardo Fanny, definitely. So, I mean, he was looking really good. He was out striking him. He was mixing in the takedowns. It was all there. But now he's coming into it with significant amount of damage. It was a year ago, but he tried to come back in December. So, I mean, maybe it wasn't as bad, or maybe he thought it wasn't as bad, and then he realized it was. Took a full year off. He should be recovered from that now. But, I mean, he's taken some losses. I mean, 9-7, and that was a bad one in the last one. So it was last June against Fanny. He was looking good, but it was, against a Fanny who had kind of taken the round off. Losses of Luke Shanks, no shame there. Sam Creasy. Again, I mean, it's a high level of opponent. Adam Amessinger. All high level of opponents he's losing to. The wins over guys like Darren O'Gorman and Lee Mitchell, which he finished them both with strikes. But and then Michelangelo Lupoli. The good news for him, Michelangelo definitely I wouldn't describe as a super heavy, heavy puncher, heavy striker. So I believe Hignett should be safe in that regard in that spot. It's Michelangelo's debut in Cage Warriors as well. Haven't found a lot of tape on him. He has 1-2 straight, however. 28 years old. Going to be an inch shorter at 5'5", but they're priced similar. Does have a win over Tanio Pangela Rico, who we just talked about a little bit ago in his last win. But, again, there was no tape on it. It was a decision, mostly a Tapology page for Lupoli. I'm going to go with Hignett here as long as he's recovered from that brutal double KO.
Yeah, from what I know about Michelangelo, he's just a straightforward grappler. Similar to the style that, if you remember the Italian fella that Dean Truman fought a couple months back now, it's that sort of up in Manchester. They're just all these Italian guys know how to wrestle really well. And
that's really
Connor on his back, I'm not too keen on. Especially
he's been beat there many times,
and he gets exhausted quickly from doing it. I feel like he might get desperate with the striking, and I don't find him being able to set up any of those power shots or high volume. If you corner Lupoli, he's just going to double leg you. He puts you against the cage, gets the high crotch single, and just drags you to the floor. And I'm actually going to go on Lupoli here. I'm going to go against my countryman, and I'm going with the Italian. And I think I rate that last win. I think he's a good win.
Okay, all right, fair enough. I wish I could have seen it because that would have helped me a little bit. But Lupoli is the slight underdog at even plus 100. Connor Hignett minus 130 in this spot. I could see Connor honestly mixing the striking and a little bit of the takedowns like he did in his last fight and taking down Lupoli and putting Lupoli
I just don't feel like he's going to get a chance to do offensive wrestling in any sense, because I think that's Lupoli's game. I think that's all he's going to be focused on. So if you want to get into a wrestling fight
but
with
it
someone
could surprise Lupoli if Hignett were to, but we'll see. It's a close fight. The odds agree, so it makes sense. Definitely worthy disagreement there. Disagreements as valuable as agreements, in my opinion. Next fight is at featherweight, favorite of ours, and Scott Peterson makes his return. Even though we both picked him in his last fight, he came off just short, taking on George Tanasa here. This is a real who the fuck knows fight for me. It's very close, and it's between a 2-2 and a 1-3 fighter here. So both guys have a pretty decent amateur record as well. Scott Peterson, especially. Scott Peterson. How do we describe this guy's style? He's definitely aggressive.
Unorthodox.
Yeah, that's another thing. Training at Shores MMA here. 5'10", 72-inch reach for the Welsh fighter here. Had a fight against Nick Bagley that did not go well. The fight against Nathan Kelly was much closer. I'll give him that. But, again, just over-aggressiveness I kind of think works against him often in his fights. He's fought all of his fights with Cage Warriors so far, and he's pretty much fought them all the same. Only one win by rear naked choke against Marcus Lewis here. He's much more chaotic, while George Tanasa, from what I've seen, is kind of much more composed, much more technical. So it is kind of a very different types of styles here. And I do think George has the composure and kind of style that could really work against Peterson's aggressiveness, honestly. George, son of Dracula, out of Romania, 2-2, great nickname. There has fought with the Cage Warriors Academy as well as an amateur, a very good amateur experience and record overall. He's fought with Cage Warriors. Did he fight with? No, he didn't fight with Cage Warriors prior to this. But yeah, low level
in his amateur, he did.
Yeah, but with the academy in his amateur. Yep. And same thing. And then Alex Bodnar is his one loss, not a bad loss at all to have on your record there. He's been active, fought in February of this past year. I've got to go against Peterson here in the spot. I like Tanasa here. I just think he's going to be the more technical, more composed fighter of the two. I think he's got kind of the better upside. He is 2 years older than Peterson, so Peterson, but I do think Tanasa has more of an upside here, and I think Tanasa will use the aggressiveness of Peterson against him, similar to his previous opponents.
I also agree. we bet on Peterson last time, and this time
abandoned ship against a 2-2 Tanasa.
It sounds bad, but I like the main thing. I know Peterson's out of Shore MMA.
Yep.
But BKK Fighters is so high level now, with Jack Mason obviously being the head coach there, and you got Arnold Allen's back there full time at the moment. Steve Amable, big long term guy there. He's a hometown guy here, Colchester. The place is like 10-15 minutes away from Charter Hall, so he's training with some real good guys, and he's for all I can see is he's taking it so damn seriously. And Scott showed a bit of lackluster in his last fight in Bellator, so. It's a real hard one to call because I think they are really evenly matched and it can go either way. So there's whoever you bet on here, there's no wrong or right. It's not that they're very evenly matched. They've got a really long, extensive amateur career. They've both got a mixed bag when it comes to the pros, but I am going against Peterson here. I am going with George.
Yeah, Peterson, a minus 185 favorite, plus 155 on George Tanasa. This is another dog for us. I believe my second dog of the night officially. So George Tanasa, we agree, and we've agreed on both our dog picks. Next fight is at 170. This one, I hate to say it, is a little bit of a kind of hard one to call, possibly, just because I wasn't able to find any fight tape on Hercules that wasn't kickboxing or Muay Thai. Definitely is a good striker. You can go to his Tapology page and see that. So that's pretty easy. Oban Elliott is Kill or Be Killed as well. I think these guys are going to meet in the middle and someone's going to go to sleep. That's my prediction for this fight. I think a lot of people are probably edging towards Oban at this point due to familiarity, but he's had a couple slip-ups already. And, I think someone goes to sleep. That's what I think. I think they're going to rock'em sock'em robots in this one. Oban is more likely of the two to mix it up, though. I think the Lithuanian is purely a striker. I do think Oban uses the ground here and gets the finish in some form or another. But it's not one that I think I have to look into too much further than that. I think Hercules is a stand-up fighter and wants this fight on the feet, and I don't think Oban's going to allow it there. And if he does, Oban's going to get the finish.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. His only two losses, Oban, to Madas Fleminus, who's an absolute beast, and
exactly.
Mark Figlak when he was 2-0, he's now 6-0, and he's smashing people. The Figlak brothers are absolute monsters as well. He gets everyone pretty much to the ground and snaps arms will take next. So, unless Hercules here gets some. I'm the same as you. I've only seen his kickboxing. I haven't even seen his Thai boxing. I've only seen the kickboxing stuff. So I know he's a tremendous striker. He's good counter strikering as well. But I don't think it's going to be quite relevant here because I'm not sure that Oban's stupid enough to entertain the one element where Hercules can actually win.
He's a big guy, though.
He's a big guy.
Yeah. He's really big. And so, Oban's very physical, too. So it'll be
interesting. Which means he gasses quick. Let's get him out of there.
Yeah, so minus 220 favorite. Minus 220. Minus 220 favorite. is Oban plus 180. So this isn't these aren't crazy odds here.
No.
A little surprised to that close, but I like Oban here. We'll see how the weigh-ins look and everything like that. But yeah, give me Oban. Not going to spend a ton of time on that one. I just don't think that one is going to last a ton of time either. So
me neither. I agree. There's a finish in that fight.
Yeah, we'll move on to the next fight, and Tom Mearns makes his return after a late pullout there against which maybe he made the right call against Manny Akvan by not fighting there. Who knows? But Tom Mearns avoided that spinning back kick that his Manny Akvan's opponent took, taking on Orlando Wilson Prins. This is a fight at featherweight. It is Prins' featherweight debut after 3-0 start at lightweight there. So, and Tom Mearns, pretty tough guy to make your Cage Warriors debut against. Don't let the record fool you at 8-7, 5-8 for the Blood, Sweat, and Tears representative here. Tom's fought whoever they've put in front of him since he's been in Cage Warriors. He's upset a few. He's lost a few. He's supposed to. I mean, I'll make no secret. I have a tough time picking Tom Mearns fights, making Tom Mearns reads. Going into that last fight with Manny Akban, I believe I did pick Mearns going into that, didn't I?
I don't know. I can't remember.
I think I did.
I was on Akban all day. But
yeah, and to be honest, I think I would have been wrong based on how Akban looked that night. But Mearns ended up having to pull out 2 straight wins for Mearns, 2 straight split decisions over Ndoye and Onwardy. Onwardy, okay, that's fine. But Ndoye, a legit win there for sure. His losses to Stephen Hooper, Kieran Lister, Amable, Bell Hodge. So all good level of opponents there for sure. Aiden Lee back in the day as well. And he's now welcoming a 3-0 Orlando Prins here, who's making a cut down to 145 for the first time. The Dutch fighter has a lot of Dutch grappling as well, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, black belt, very accomplished. Although a couple of the Jiu-Jitsu matches I watched, he lost. That's fine. I mean, all of his wins by finish over 0-0 fighters. Now he's going up and taking on Tom Mearns. At a new weight class. I just think that Prins is very good. He's got very good credentials. I think he's legit. He definitely has the jiu-jitsu credentials to finish a Tom Mearns, but Tom Mearns has been in spots that Prins has never been to in MMA. And I just, oh man, I want to take it so bad, but I'm gonna doubt the newcomer here in Prins, and I'm going to go with Tom Mearns here to give the newcomer a lesson in cutting down to 145 in Cage Warriors and level competition. Prins has looked okay against 0-0 fighters. He's looked okay. He hasn't blown me away. He has gotten the finish in these fights, but the Ruslan fight I watched took a little bit of time. He's fighting once a year. I'm not sure, how much does this guy love fighting? And Tom Mearns loves fighting. His last win against Ndoye is a legit win. Ndoye is a very good fighter, very credentialed, and legit. Good test here for if Prins wins this fight. I mean, I'm very excited to see what Prins does moving forward because a debut against Tom Mearns in a new weight class is no joke. I'm gonna go with Tom Mearns.
Yeah, I'm going to have to lean on your knowledge for this one because I've only seen the Ruslan fight. I couldn't find the other ones. But I do know his credentials within the grappling world. Mm-hmm. The only issue for me mainly is what kind of headspace is Tom in. Because if he comes in like he did against Ndoye, then Prins is in for a real tough night. But if he comes in like he did against Stephen Hooper where he didn't even try, he's just going to get choked out. He's going to get put in a position. I feel like it might be that one of those times where the fighter meets the athlete and the athlete treats this fight as a sport and he's not even entertaining anything, anything crazy or going to be put in these dangerous positions because he's got a game plan. He's going to stick to it. Whereas Tom's more instinctive, isn't he? He reacts on his knowledge over the years. Whereas that's why he has that mad record. But
Just like look at the level of opponent
I
Thompson.
can't knowledgeably bet on Prince because I haven't seen enough of him, and I know that Mearns is he's damn tough. So
yeah, and the other
my
thing
my loose pick is also Tom, just because of lack of knowledge for this one. So I'm not gonna don't listen to me, people, if you're betting money on this fight. But
yeah, and as now he's technically the underdog, still at -110 versus the -120 favorite in Orlando Prince. So I'll take that
very highly. Yeah,
I'll take that side. For me, Mearns has been preparing for a high level of opponents last 7, 8 opponents. So for 3-4 years, I mean, this is the first time he's faced a guy at the level of a 3-0, and I do believe Mearns, trains with legit, level of competition as well. So should be. I just haven't been blown away by Prince either in his fights or his jiu-jitsu competition that I've been able to find.
He trains with Vucenic and Bukaskis, doesn't he? So
yeah, exactly. So
and Jefferson George, people like that.
But buyer beware. I believe my Tom Mearns Tapology picks is like 1-4 or something. So
we'll get to 2-4 eventually.
yeah, exactly. I'm trying to get to Tom Mearns.
Come on,
it's like a Tom Mearns record himself. But will he be at 500 or is he going to be at 9-7 against the newcomer here? Next fight at bantamweight, probably my fight of the event. Between the two events, we got a favorite of both of ours in Luke Shanks taking on the just tough, the durable, the I'll fight anybody, and Josh Reed.
Crazy
the
horse himself, isn't it? Yeah.
Crazy horse, 12-6 versus 9-3. Talk about Josh Reed first here, and a huge opportunity for Josh Reed. While for Luke Shanks, it is a disappointing opportunity. It could be, right? Like he was expecting to fight for the title, and now he's fighting a 12-6 journeyman who this is his biggest fight. Like that's the
biggest fight for Josh Reed. I'd say he fought Nathaniel Wood, and that was a big fight at the time.
But what this fight means for Josh Reed if he wins is a title shot.
He's back on the horse. Yeah. He steals the limelight from Luke, doesn't he?
Exactly. While Luke wins this and he gets what he already thinks he should be getting, which is a title shot. So and the reason I'm mentioning that is one of the things I actually watched for this fight was an interview with the two of them on like the Energized podcast. As I'm two Irish guys.
With the crazy glasses. Yeah,
both of them were on at the same time. So that's why it was helpful for me because I got to see how they're kind of sizing each other up. And, I mean, I'll be honest, Josh Reed looked like the more focused, more ready guy in this interview. Luke Shanks was just like, I don't know what Cage Warriors is doing. I'll fight this Josh Reed guy. It's the biggest opportunity for him. And then Josh Reed is just like, I want to earn my spot. This is a huge opportunity. And it's just the way they were talking psychologically, I'm edging towards Josh Reed. Now that might not really mean that much in the overall fight. I'm just saying from a psychological, how they're approaching this fight, I prefer Josh Reed's approach here. What
about if they were both on the same wavelength?
Yeah.
Skills, who would you go for?
Well, I'm not even saying. I'm just saying the cycle. I haven't even said who I'm edging overall. I'm just saying.
Okay.
The psychological approach. I'm like, if I'm checking boxes, there's 4 or 5 different intangibles. Like the approach or mindset, I'm edging towards Josh Reed slightly, and initially, but he hasn't fought since September of last year against 4-0 Kurzev, and Kurzev was a very infrequent fighter before that 4-0. He was pretty much just a striker. We really don't know how good he was coming into that fight. And, Josh kind of did a Matt Bodnar versus Kahuta, hopefully, approach, where he just didn't allow him to get the spot in his game going, which is the striking, and he just kind of overwhelmed him. Rear naked choked him. For that, lost to Dylan Hazan, a 5-0 fighter. Dylan has looked okay. He got finished by Liam Giddens back in 2020. Wins over Ivan Zadar and Brian Creedon. So again, Josh Reed kind of beating the guys he's supposed to, maybe losing to the guys that he's not supposed to beat. The win over Aiden DePape, probably his best win on his, throughout his not Bellator, Cage Warriors career here. But he's a finisher. He's got good submission game. On the feet, he is tenacious. He's been definitely improving that part of his game too. I just think that Luke Shanks also, in the mirror way, has been improving the grappling while has very, very good stand-up, and he's tenacious. I just think that Luke knows that he's one step away from the title shot. He's very, very focused. He wants Dominique Wooding. He's made that very, very clear. If he doesn't get Dominique Wooding here, I definitely can see him following Dominique Wooding to the UFC and eventually them setting that up for like a UFC London type of event, which I'd love to see in the future. The other thing that concerns me is Luke is not completely committed to 135 yet. So
because I think he is now because he missed weight at 125.
But he's still even in this interview said we'll kind of see. But that might just be
he's too big.
Yeah, I think he's too big. He is too big, but Josh is most definitely a 135er.
Yes, Josh is a big 135er. Yeah,
right. He's big, long 135er, and if Josh wins this fight, we're all of a sudden seeing Luke think about going to 125 again. Period. Yeah, especially if it comes down to the size and the frame. This is a very good fight. I think these guys are going to go at it for 3 rounds. I don't see a finish on either side. And for me, I am going to edge towards Luke Shanks here. I do think he edges it out. I think that Reed at least wins a round, though. I think these guys match up really well, and it's an interesting one. Wooding booked for the Contender Series as he should be, which is totally fine. I love Dominic. We both love Dominic.
He should be on this London card.
That's he shouldn't even. I agree. But I'm going to edge towards Luke Shank. I think this is going to be a war. I do see ways that Reed can win this fight, but I'm going to edge towards Luke.
I see what ways Reed can win this fight as well. He can make it dirty. He's really good at getting in your face. He never uses his size as a weapon.
Never.
But in this fight, he actually could, which is brilliant because, as you say, Luke is significantly smaller, but I think he's more compact. But the level of striking between Luke Shanks and Josh Reed is significant to me. I think Luke Shanks is absolutely devastating. I think he's got one of the best well-rounded games. He learned a lot from that Jake Hadley fight. That was a massive learning curve. Obviously, he was winning, in my opinion, the Sam Creasy fight as well, the first one before he got caught in the guillotine. And then obviously knocked out Sam Creasy. And Sam Creasy is one of the best flyweight strikers outside of any major organization.
And Sam Creasy was grappling a lot in that fight, which is a compliment to Luke Shanks.
Absolutely. And I really think Luke Shanks, if he sits on this weight well, you know when you see like Ilia Topuria, you're like, oh, he might be too small for 155, and then he knocks out Jai Herbert that one shot. He got his ass handed to him for 4 minutes of that round, but he carries the power because he's not cutting. I feel like Luke might be able to get more finishes because of the power element. But I do agree with you. I do think it's going to go decision because Josh Reed is a tough fucking, he's really tough. But I am backing Luke Shanks. I think he is the next level. I think losing to Sam Creasy and Jake Hadley really lit a fire in him. Hence, he finished Sam in 1 round. So,
yep. And Luke Shanks still 26 years old.
Yeah, he's a young guy, isn't he? 26, 27. But again, also trains with people like Vucenic. His JB, the striking coach there, is a wizard. Modestas Bukauskas. You got
all those guys are improving. They're sharpening each other.
Clifford Hall, Tom Mearns, Jefferson George. I can't remember them all, but
Tom Mearns. Let's go, Tom.
Yeah. So there you go. They're all back to back with each other. So Tom Mearns, Luke Shanks parlay.
and Luke Shanks is a parlay piece I like quite a bit. Even though this is a fight of the night, I see minus 215 on Luke. I think is a decent, price. It's probably a little bit more expensive than I wanted it. I'd love to get it around minus 180 or something. But yeah, I mean, on a card like this, it's the only card available this weekend. We're going to see Cage Warriors numbers get elevated. So Luke at minus 215, I'll take that and add it to a parlay or to myself. We're on to the main event. Main event's okay. I'll be honest. I wish they were kind of capping it off with a little bit better of a way than James Webb versus.
Because he's from Colchester.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
he's born and raised in
trying to finish with a bang here. James Webb versus
he's honestly beloved in
Lyanna Liu. here. Two 32-year-old kind of grapplers here who like to mix up with their striking once in a while. That might result in kind of an underwhelming main event. They do kind of mirror each other in a lot of ways. Looking forward to Rosenstrike is like looking forward to the next breakdown as I'm just like poo-pooing the main event here. So okay, yeah. So yeah, Webb Liu. I'm excited.
I like it.
Yeah. So I'll let Lewis take more of the run on this one. Lyanna Liu, the Italian fighter here, just waiting for the page to load, of course. But yeah, these guys, in all seriousness, these guys do match up very well with each other. They're very similar types of opponents here. James Webb definitely coming off of a tough performance there in his last fight, and maybe I'm judging that a little too hard. But Lyanna Liu, 9-1. I'll start with Shoot Team Academy, 6 foot tall Italian, 9-1 overall. Was able to find a few of his fight tapes, and they're like recorded on VHS. It looked like 32 years old. Here hasn't fought since December of last year with RLFC against a 6-11 Esteban Mendoza. He knocked him out. He was supposed to face Muslim Tulashayev, and Muslim Tulashayev ended up having to pull out that fight. And Muslim, who did he lose to? Because I remember I looked this up. It was someone who is not very impressive. Yeah, I mean, he has a win over Amilcar Alves, who we've seen on some words. Real quick, by the way, Muslim did lose his last fight out to Leonardo Damiani, the Italian who lost AJ Fletcher on the Contender Series, who lost in Bellator. So Leonardo back in the winning column. The win I was able to find from Leon was against Chase Gamble. Chase Gamble, not a very good fighter. You can go ahead and look up his record. And they were kind of going back and forth before he finally got a guillotine that he was kind of locked in for like 40 seconds before he finally tapped out. I just haven't been too impressed with what I've seen out of Leo here. For me, James Webb takes this one pretty handily if he learns from his mistakes in his last fight, which was that James fell in love with his striking too much and started to trust his striking way too much in his last fight. He needs to go back to the grappling. I think he's going to be the stronger of the grapplers here. The grappling could cancel each other out here to where I do think that James Webb, in a stand-up bout, it could be closer. But yeah, it's like same with kind of UFC on a betting side. I mean, either side of this is rough. I'm going to go with James Webb, though. It's a homecoming for him, so he should be able to take the debuting Liu. But I don't love that being my basis for a main event or any pick. But what are your thoughts on this? Tell me.
He's fought at Charter House before against Matthias Frederick, where he got the draw, but that was the first fight between them. But yeah, again, he fell in love with his hands. He has his chin out in the air, and James has a real cardio issue for me. After about 6-7 minutes, he slows down so much, and it always bothers me because as a grappler, he is phenomenal. He did get his black belt in jiu-jitsu. When I saw him a few years back, I think he was a brown belt, but he is phenomenal, especially at chasing the submission. To get Craig White via a submission. Now, say what you want about Craig White. He's a very good submission artist. He's not a great mixed martial artist. There's a big difference. But to catch him in an arm triangle when he knew in the first round when they're dry, no sweat, no blood, no nothing, very, very hard to do. Managed to do it easy peasy. Fell in love with his hands against Matthew, but was doing all right in the first round. So as long as he doesn't gas and as long as he doesn't continue with the striking, I think he'll be fine.
He's going against a fellow 32-year-old here.
Yeah. James is a young 32. He started out late. I will say that as well. But Leon's not a great striker either. So that he's not a Matthew Bonner when it comes to striking. So I think James might have an edge. I just don't want him to rely on his striking. He needs to rely on the grappling more. But mixing it up, cardio-based, James Webb's got to win it for me.
Yeah. He's a minus 200 favorite, so it's not terrible. I mean, you're not.
I think that's about right. Right.
Yeah, and then plus 160 on Leon here. Definitely not enough for me to at all be intrigued on the Leon side of things. So Yeah, that is going to do it for the 137 and 138 Cage Warriors breakdown shows. I will have the timestamps up in the description after, or in the comments after the show is all over here. But overall, Luke Shanks and Josh Reed, my fight of the night for the first or the second night, and hopefully. The Tenio and Benoit Blanc fight is a great fight, and for Benoit Blanc, that would be my fight of the night on the first one there. But all our picks are there, and yeah, enjoy the fights. The 27th and 28th in the States starting a little bit early. Happy Memorial Day if you celebrate it. And yeah, check out Norton MMA. We're going to be recording some videos coming up here for some fights coming up as well. But Lewis, what fights have come out that they can check out now?
What did I do? We got Jasinho Rosenstrike versus Alexander Volkov came out today, and also the Benoit Saint Denis fight, which I'm really looking forward to as well. That's a great one. Yeah,
so definitely subscribe to Norton MMA. Those are individual breakdowns over there. Good luck on your bets. Appreciate you, Rogue Strummer, UFC betting experience. Kelly, appreciate it. Good luck and kill it out there, and keep taking care of each other out there. Peace.